I'm Brad Dickin. I'm the editorial page editor here at the Chronicle Telegram. I'm joined today by Jack Bradley, the mayor-elect of Lorain, and Carissa Wojtak, our Lorain reporter. And we're going to be talking about what his plans are for the first 100 days or so. Jack, you've kind of brought a few of your staff here today. Could you kind of tell us who you're going to be naming to some of the top positions?
Well, I have Max Upton, who is going to be the Safety Service Director. I have Melissa Barnhart, who is going to be the Chief of Staff. And I have Rick Soto, who is going to be the Assistant Safety Service Director.
Okay. Are any of those newer positions, or are those all?
Well, they're not new positions. The position that Rick Soto is going to be in is a position that's currently vacant that we're going to be filling with him because we think that he has the talents to fill that position. He's a former Lorain police officer. He's a lieutenant. He's the hostage negotiator for the Lorain Police Department, and we thought with his talents, he would be an asset to the administration of the city of Lorain.
Okay. What do you think the top priority is going to be when you get into office?
Right now, we've talked about the water bills in the city of Lorain. We believe that that is going to be the #1 priority.
Okay. How do you, what do you think the rates are going to need to raise? Stay the same, go down?
Well, the hope is that we can have those rates go down. We plan on working with the city council, certainly the water department, and maybe even bring in some outside experts to do an audit of our water department. And hopefully, all of us working together, we can see if we can get these rates down.
Okay, what's the current rate?
I can't, I mean, everyone's rate is different.
Okay.
I mean, my wife always paid the water bills in our home, and when I started going door to door when I was campaigning, everyone said, "Are you going to do something about these water bills?" So I went home and I asked my wife, I said, "Is our water bill high?" And she told me what our water bill was, and I said, "Oh my God, that's high." Excuse me. I said, "That's high." And so we actually called the water department to come over to see if we had a leak, because it was a very unreasonable water bill. So they said, "No, you don't have any leaks. That's just the way it is." And so it's causing me to want to look at these rates and see if there's something we can do to cut them down, or at least explain to the citizens of Lorain why their water rate is where it's at. If you can't reduce it, you at least have to give an explanation to the citizens as to why it's that high.
Okay. Now, are there some EPA mandates that kind of require certain expenses by the city that are funded in part by those water bills, or is that more of a sewer issue?
Well, I think that water and sewer are connected, and the EPA did put some mandates on the city of Lorain, so they had to do certain repairs. If they didn't do those repairs, then they were going to get fined, and the fines were going to be very, very high. So they had to do that repair. Certainly, some of the citizens in Lorain told me we don't want another Flint, Michigan in the city of Lorain. So we want to make sure that the people have safe water, that they have sanitary water, but yet that there's an explanation as to why they're being charged what they're being charged.
You mentioned Flint, Michigan. Is there a problem with the lead in the water, or?
I don't think there's any problem in the city of
Okay.
Lorain. As a matter of fact, one of our council members at the last council meeting said that Lorain has some of the best water in the state of Ohio. And we want to make sure that it stays that way, that we have the best water in the state of Ohio, that we don't have any problems.
Okay. One of the other big issues that you're kind of going to be facing coming in is going to be the Lorain schools issue. Now, CEO David Hardy is leaving. Interim CEO Greg Ring is taking over. Have you met with him?
I have not met with him yet. I see he's from the city of Lorain, which makes me happy, because if you are from the city, you understand what the citizens want in the city of Lorain. You also understand how Lorain works. And I think each town, each city is unique, and we certainly want someone who is going to be addressing problems from a Lorain perspective.
Okay. Do you have any sense as to kind of where the future is going to be with House Bill 70 and kind of the reforms with that?
I think the goal is to eliminate that. We don't want the state to take away local control. Historically, the schools have always been controlled by the citizens by electing a school board. And by bringing in a CEO, a chief operating officer, it takes away that local control, and it takes away the citizens' control, really, because the citizens vote for the school board members, and if they're displeased, they can replace those school board members. That's been taken away from the citizens at Lorain, and we want to return that back to them.
Have you been having conversations with Columbus about that?
I've talked to our state legislators. I've had communications with our state representative, state senator, and I think we're all on the same page that we'd like to address that issue at the State House.
Okay, we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back. Hi, welcome back. We're still here with Jack Bradley, Mayor-elect of Lorain, and we're want to get into talking about kind of what the contracts for various city unions are going to look like here coming forward. Some of those are coming up.
Well, I know that we're currently in negotiations with the fire department, and I've had some good conversations with both the president of the police union and also the fire union, and I probably will not be directly involved in the negotiations, but I told both presidents that if there's a problem, they should get in touch with me, and we're going to try to work through these things and try to avoid arbitration if we can. I think that the people that I've selected for my staff are going to be willing to openly talk with the fire and police departments and make sure that we're fair, not only to them, but also to the citizens of Lorain.
Now, one of the things that the fire department had wanted was an extra man on each shift to be able to keep its tower truck open and what they consider safe mannings. Is that something that's going to be able to happen given budgets?
Well, when I was running for mayor, the fire department actually did a demonstration, and they simulated a fire at the corner of 13th and Reed in Lorain, and so I was able to actually view the difference with an extra man on a truck, and I was impressed because the rescue time was cut down by 5 minutes. So instead of finding someone in 15 minutes, they were able to find a person in 10 minutes. That meant something to me. And so I certainly appreciate that we need manpower. We don't want to lose one citizen because we did not have the proper staff. But again, everyone has to sacrifice. And if we're going to make sure that the citizens of Lorain are safe, the citizens are going to have to sacrifice, but also the fire department will have to sacrifice. And we'll look at these things and try to come to a resolution that's fair to everyone.
What would it mean that the citizens have to sacrifice?
Well, if we want to add people to the fire department, certainly that means that we have to go within a budget. And we have to make sure that our budget is fair and that we're not overtaxing the citizens of Lorain, and yet we don't want to deprive them of the protection that they're entitled to. People may say, well, the firemen sleep 24 hours a day and they get paid for sleeping. Well, believe me, if my house is on fire and my granddaughter is on the second floor, I want firemen available, and I want the best protection that we could possibly have, because I don't want to sacrifice my granddaughter because we understaffed our fire department. So there's a balancing there, but I'm certainly aware of their concerns, and I'm certainly aware of the citizens' concerns when it comes to safety.
Do you mentioned the budget. Do you anticipate that the city's budget is going to be in the black next year, or have you started working on those yet?
I haven't started working on that yet. I know what they did is they gave a 3-month budget so that when I take office, I can work with Karen Shawver, our auditor, in looking at the budget. But I think that Karen has been very, very fiscally aware, And I think that we're going to have funds available to do some of the things that we need to do in Lorain. But, there was talk about doing some work at the water department. And they said that they were going to have to either repair or replace our drinkable water system. To replace it, they were talking $43 million. To do a complete overhaul and make it new was $47 million. Now, those are big expenses. And I certainly want to be able to look at those things and make sure that we make a good decision for our city so that we're spending our money wisely. And I'm hoping that I can meet with some of our state legislators, our Senator, Sherrod Brown, and see if there's some money available that we can bring into the city of Lorain to help us with some of those expenses. Because if the Environmental Protection Agency wants us to do certain things, I would hope that the federal government would also be willing to help us to do those things.
Okay. All right. We're going to take another quick break, and then we'll be right back. Welcome back. We're still here with Jack Bradley, Mayor-elect of Lorain, and I wanted to kind of stay on budgets. Are you concerned that there might be any layoffs or budget cuts coming in the next year or so in the city of Lorain?
I'm not aware that there will be any cuts or any problems with the budget. Of course, I haven't really looked at it at this point, and so once I start being the mayor of Lorain, January 1st. I'm definitely going to be meeting with Karen Chauver, our auditor, and we'll see if there are any problems. But I don't foresee that right now. There's been no red flags raised at this point about having to do layoffs or any type of cuts in the city of Lorain.
Now, circling back to the water treatment plant, do you have a sense of whether or not you'd like to rehab that or replace it?
Well, at the council meeting that I attended where they were talking about that, the engineers that made the proposal to the city of Lorain indicated that probably it's going to cost the same. So they gave an estimate of like $43 million as opposed to $47 million for new. But then a question was asked of them as to whether or not that 43 was a hard figure. And they said no, probably in the long run, when we find out more problems, because once things get dug up, they always find something new, and they said probably it would cost the same to do replacement or to do new, and if that's going to be the same cost, well then we're going to do what's the best, which is to renew and make sure that we have brand new pipes
Right.
and not the old pipes.
And you mentioned looking for state money. If there's no state or federal money available, how are you looking at funding this?
I believe that the funds are available, I'll tell you the truth. From what I understand in talking to the auditor, that we would have the funds available. But again, we're also looking to cut down water bills. So if I can get money from an outside source to help us, that would certainly give us some money available to look at reducing water rates for our citizens.
That sounds like it's going to be a tough balancing act to get the water rates down and pay for either a new or a rehab for.
We plan on bringing in an outside firm to do an audit of our water department and to see if there's a way to save some money. And my understanding is this firm doesn't charge to come in and do the audit. They only charge if they can save us money, and then they take a certain percentage of the money that they save the city. So we would pass on any savings to the citizens, and so it's money well spent.
Do you have any sense of what will happen with the housing court? They just recently re-upped that to the end of March.
Well, I know that I talked to the magistrate in the housing court, and one thing we want to do is we want to try to be fair to the citizens of the city of Lorain. An example was there was a 83-year-old grandmother who hadn't painted her garage, and so she had to be brought into court. They ended up dismissing the case, but she had to pay court costs, and the court costs were probably a little under $200. Well, that particular citizen couldn't afford to pay court costs for something that probably could have been accomplished by maybe asking some volunteers to come over and maybe help her to paint that garage. So we're going to try to be a little bit more user-friendly to our citizens. Now, if you're an Lorain landlord, or you're one of these corporations or limited liability companies that owns property in Lorain, we're not going to be so friendly to you. But we're going to be friendly to our citizens, and we're going to try to work with them. We're going to try to get some community involvement to help people to do the repairs that they need to do to avoid housing court.
So you're going to look at what, partnering with nonprofits to?
Yeah, I mean, my brother-in-law, Mike Farrar, has ACEs, which he works with young people, and they love to do projects. And if I called Mike on the phone and said, "Hey, Mike, we have a lady in Lorain who has a garage that needs to be painted. Would you take your kids over there and help her get this garage painted?" Believe me, they would be there in a couple days. That garage would be taken care of, and she wouldn't have to go to housing court. She wouldn't have to worry about court costs, and we'd be concentrating in housing court on the real problems that we have in Lorain.
And part of those problems is, you know, your vacant landlords and the blight that it causes. Are you looking at continuing to tear down like the residential, working through the demo list for residential?
Yes.
Yeah.
We want to get. I mean, my wife and I, we walk the streets of Lorain. We like to walk, and I see the same houses over and over again that are unoccupied, that have critters crawling underneath the houses, and I see neighbors next door who take care of their property, and yet they have this abandoned house that actually reduces their property value. We want to help all the citizens to have their property values increased by not having the blighted housing that we have in the city of Lorain. It's a big project, one house at a time, but we're going to do whatever we can to address that issue and make our city a better environment to live in.
Okay. Wanted to just kind of touch base real quickly on economic development and kind of what your plans are to kind of broaden that in Lorain.
Well, we want to make Lorain user-friendly again for businesses. Our motto has been Lorain is open for business, and so we want to develop this business concierge concept where we have one person where businessmen who want to come into the city of Lorain to do business can meet with this person, learn about all the fees, all the regulations, and make it as easy as possible for them to come into the city of Lorain and develop businesses in Lorain. And we may even team up with the Port Authority and have them assist us in doing this. They've been pretty good at getting businesses attracted into Lorain, just like the new hotel, the Aerial Hotel. That was something that was done just by a meeting between the director of the Port Authority and the person who is developing the hotel. And so we all work together. It's like a partnership. But we want to make it as easy as possible to do business in the city of Lorain, and we want to attract people to come in here because we're going to be friendly to business, not making it hard for them to come into our city.
Is that concierge going to be part of your safety service department?
Well, I'm still thinking that through. Again, I talked to one of the members of the Port Authority, and he said, you know, maybe you should talk to us at the Port Authority and see if we could have the business concierge through the Port Authority. So it's either going to be through my administration or it's going to be through the Port Authority, or maybe a combination of both working together to get things done.
Well, the city already works with the Port Authority on economic development projects, do they not?
Definitely. And we're going to continue to do that. We have a good Port Authority, a good board, and we'll continue to work together to make Lorain a better place.
All right, very good. Well, Jack, we appreciate you being here. I think that's it for us, and we appreciate you watching.